Imagine standing on the hills above the Tiber River in the early centuries before Christ, looking down at a small settlement that few would have believed could one day dominate central Italy. Surrounded by rival tribes, powerful cities, and constant threats, Rome was not yet an empire, it was a vulnerable community fighting to survive. So how did this modest city transform itself into the strongest power in the region? The answer lies not in one great battle, but in a series of calculated wars, strategic alliances, and bold political decisions that slowly expanded Roman influence beyond its borders. After its traditional founding in 753 BC, Rome realized that survival depended on controlling the fertile lands, trade routes, and high ground of central Italy. Geography played a crucial role. Positioned along the Tiber, Rome could trade, move troops, and connect with neighboring regions, but opportunity also brought danger. Latin cities, Etruscan powers, and fierce mountain tribes all stood in Rome's path. What followed was a relentless struggle for dominance that would reshape the balance of power in Italy forever. Central Italy was not just land on a map, it was the key to survival and dominance. Rome's position near the Tiber River gave it access to trade routes that connected inland tribes to the Mediterranean coast. Fertile plains supported agriculture, while nearby hills provided natural defense. However, this same geography placed Rome in constant competition with neighboring Latin cities and powerful Etruscan settlements to the north. Control of central Italy meant control of resources, manpower, and military advantage. Rome understood early that remaining a small city-state would leave it vulnerable. Expansion was not simply ambition, it was necessity. By securing nearby territories, Rome created buffer zones that protected the city from sudden invasions. Each victory added farmland, soldiers, and wealth. Over time, this steady consolidation turned Rome from a defensive settlement into an assertive regional power. Central Italy became the testing ground where Rome refined its military discipline, political systems, and diplomatic strategies that would later build an empire. Rome's earliest conflicts were with its closest neighbors, the Latin cities. Though they shared language and cultural roots, competition for land and influence led to tension. Initially part of the Latin League, Rome gradually asserted dominance within the alliance. The decisive moment came during the Latin War in the 4th century BC. Rather than destroying its defeated rivals, Rome adopted a new strategy. Some cities were granted partial citizenship. Others became allies with obligations to provide troops. This flexible system prevented rebellion and ensured loyalty. Unlike many ancient powers that ruled through fear alone, Rome integrated conquered communities into its expanding network. Roads connected these cities, trade increased, and military cooperation strengthened Rome's position. By the end of these struggles, Rome was no longer one Latin city among many, it was the leader of Latium. This marked a turning point, proving that Rome's strength came not only from conquest, but also from political innovation and calculated inclusion. To the north of Rome lay the advanced and wealthy Etruscan cities. The Etruscans had once influenced Rome deeply, shaping its religion, engineering, and even early kingship traditions. But as Rome grew stronger, rivalry replaced influence. The long conflict with the powerful city of Veii became a defining struggle. After years of warfare, Rome captured Veii in 396 BC, a victory that doubled its territory. This conquest was more than military success, it demonstrated Rome's persistence and discipline. The Romans learned siege warfare, improved engineering techniques, and gained valuable resources. Instead of erasing Etruscan culture, Rome absorbed it. Architectural styles, religious rituals, and symbols of authority became part of Roman identity. Through conflict, Rome strengthened itself culturally and militarily. By weakening Etruscan dominance in central Italy, Rome cleared the path for further expansion northward and solidified its reputation as a rising power capable of defeating established civilizations. In the rugged mountains of southern central Italy lived the Samnites, fierce warriors skilled in mountain combat. Unlike the city-based Latins and Etruscans, the Samnites were adaptable and aggressive. The Samnite wars tested Rome's endurance over several decades. At one point, Roman forces suffered humiliation at the Caudine Forks, forced to surrender under harsh terms. Yet Rome refused to accept permanent defeat. Instead, it reformed its military tactics, adapting to the terrain and learning flexibility in battle formation. Through persistence and reorganization, Rome eventually overcame the Samnites. The wars proved that Rome could recover from disaster and return stronger. Victory opened southern routes and demonstrated Rome's ability to fight prolonged conflicts. The defeat of the Samnites marked the beginning of Rome's unquestioned dominance in central Italy, showing that resilience and discipline were at the heart of Roman expansion. Rome's expansion would not have been possible without military innovation. Early Roman forces were influenced by Greek-style formations, but conflicts in central Italy demanded flexibility flexibility. Over time, Rome developed the manipular legion system, dividing soldiers into smaller, adaptable units. This structure allowed Roman armies to maneuver effectively across hills and uneven terrain. Discipline, training, and organization became Rome's greatest weapons. Soldiers were not temporary fighters, they were citizens defending and expanding their homeland. Military service fostered unity and loyalty. The legion became more than an army. It was a symbol of Roman strength and order. As Rome expanded, roads were built to move troops quickly across territories. Colonies were established as strategic outposts. Each campaign improved tactics and experience. By mastering military structure during the conquest of central Italy, Rome created a fighting force that would later dominate the Mediterranean world. Rome understood that constant warfare alone could exhaust resources. Instead of ruling purely through fear, it created a network of alliances. Some cities retained local autonomy while pledging loyalty to Rome. Others received varying degrees of citizenship, creating incentives for cooperation. This layered system prevented unified rebellions, because allies had different privileges and responsibilities. Divide and rule became a powerful tool. Roads connected allied cities, strengthening economic and military coordination. Rome demanded troops rather than taxes from many allies, ensuring a steady supply of manpower. This diplomatic approach was revolutionary. Instead of immediate cultural destruction, Rome fostered gradual integration. Loyalty was built through shared benefits and mutual defense. As a result, Rome expanded not just by the sword but through calculated political strategy. Central Italy became interconnected under Roman leadership, forming the foundation for a broader Italian confederation. Expansion brought wealth and opportunity. New lands provided farmland for Roman citizens, boosting agricultural production. Trade routes expanded, connecting inland communities with coastal markets. Economic growth strengthened Rome's political institutions, especially the Senate. As territory increased, so did social complexity. Patricians and plebeians both felt the impact of expansion. Conquered peoples contributed labor, culture, and military service. Urban development accelerated, and infrastructure improved. Roads, bridges, and defensive structures symbolized Rome as growing confidence. Expansion also fostered a shared Roman identity. Former rivals gradually became participants in a broader political system. Central Italy was no longer a collection of competing tribes. It was evolving into a unified sphere under Roman leadership. This economic and social transformation laid the groundwork for even greater ambitions beyond Italy. By 290 BC, Rome stood as the dominant force in central Italy. Through wars against Latins, Etruscans, and Samnites, Rome had eliminated major rivals. Yet its success was not based solely on battlefield victories. Strategic alliances, military reforms, and political integration ensured stability. Rome had proven its resilience, recovering from defeats and adapting to challenges. Central Italy became a secure base from which Rome could project power outward. The city that once fought for survival now commanded armies, resources, and loyal allies across the region. This transformation marked a decisive chapter in Roman history. With central Italy under control, Rome was prepared for the next stage, conquering the entire Italian peninsula and eventually confronting powers beyond the sea. The rise of Rome in central Italy was not the end of a story, but the beginning of an empire in the making. As we reach the end of this chapter, we see that Rome's rise in central Italy was not a sudden explosion of power, but a slow, determined climb built on discipline, resilience, and strategy. From securing the lands around the Tiber River to defeating powerful neighbors like the Etruscans and Samnites, Rome proved that survival depended on adaptation. Every setback became a lesson. Every war reshaped its army. Every alliance strengthened its influence. By 290 BC, Rome was no longer a vulnerable city surrounded by enemies. It was the unquestioned master of central Italy. Yet this dominance was only the foundation. With strong legions, loyal allies, expanding roads, and growing wealth, Rome now stood ready to look beyond its immediate borders. The control of central Italy gave Rome confidence, manpower, and resource to challenge the entire peninsula and eventually the Mediterranean world. What began as a small settlement had transformed into a rising power with unstoppable momentum, and this was only the beginning of Rome's greater journey toward empire. In Urdu,